I did Duolingo for 3,349 days. And no, I don't mean I used one of those frozen streak things, streak freeze or whatever you call it, to keep my streak alive. No, I mean that I logged into the Duolingo app every single day for more than 9 years and did at least one lesson. And here's proof. It didn't matter whether I was having a good day, a bad day, the world was crashing, the pandemic was going on, I had the biggest exam of my life to prepare for, I still managed to continue my streak. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is why. Why did I make it such a priority to keep my streak going every single day? If you try to search up why people keep such long streaks on Duolingo, for instance on Google, you come across a Duolingo blog post that says, quote, "If you're just getting started on Duolingo, extending your streak feels like a bigger accomplishment each day compared to when a seasoned learner with a longer streak extends theirs." So according to Duolingo themselves, since I'm not a new learner, that sense of accomplishment that comes from, say, extending a streak shouldn't exist for me. And to be honest, they're right. I don't have that sense of accomplishment anymore. I barely even notice how long my streak is from day to day. In fact, I probably wouldn't even have made this video if not for all the people around me telling me how absurdly long my streak is. One of the more recent moments that reminded me of my streak for the first time in a long time was when I was hanging out with my friend. And so I was like, oh shoot, I forgot to do Duolingo, it's getting pretty late in the day, I have to do it, otherwise I'm gonna forget again. And so I log in, my friend looks over my shoulder, and she sees that I have a 3,000 whatever day streak. And she's like, do you know how long that is? That's crazy long. She puts in a calculator, it turns out it's around 8 years. And I'm like, dang, I didn't really think about that. I mean, that's actually a really, really long time. And so without me even knowing it, Duolingo has become a habit. And in some way, you're listening to all this and you could say that that's addiction. And you're probably right. It's really amazing how Duolingo lures their learners into making language learning a huge part of their lives. And I'm going to come back to this, but there's actually some times where I felt like the structure of Duolingo has caused me to focus on other things rather than the actual language learning itself. But first, I want to take it all the way back to when I first started doing Duolingo. At this point, circa 9 years ago, hardly anyone really uses Duolingo, hardly anyone outside of the language learning community knows about it. The main attraction to Duolingo at this time is that it's free. Even to this day, even though Duolingo encourages you strongly to buy their paid version called Super, the basis of it has always been free. The core of it is that it's free. Anyone can create an account and start learning a language today, and that's how it's always been. And so that's essentially why I picked Duolingo out of all the other learning tools, Rosetta Stone, Memrise, you name it. And when I first started, I had self-learned a little bit of French, and I'd gone to Chinese school. That's it. And you know what's funny? You know how some memories are etched in your brain so much that you never forget it? I actually remember exactly where I was sitting all those years ago, a decade ago, when I first started the French course. So I do Duolingo for about 40 days, chugging through the French course, lesson by lesson. And after about 40 days, I actually lose my streak. Poof, gone. Just like that. Back to a big fat 0. And I remember feeling like a piece of me was ripped out. I remember feeling so sad. And looking back on it, that's probably why I was so motivated to keep my streak going the second time. I wanted to prove to myself that I could do Duolingo for more than 40 days. And by the time I reached that streak for the second time, I had basically been doing Duolingo for about 80 days straight, without, of course, the one day that I didn't do it, when I lost the streak. So by this time, I had basically built a habit of doing Duolingo subconsciously. So what did I do when I finished the French course? Well, I started Spanish. And that kept me going for another, say, X number of days. And as time is going by, Duolingo is doing their thing, they're updating their courses, adding more and more lessons, actually enabling me to go back to the French course that I finished and learn some new things. I would say Duolingo was really effective for me up until about 4 years ago. About 4 years ago is when Duolingo added the League. The League is a ranked competition where you compete against a group of people to get the most points in the group. And ever since Duolingo introduced this feature, I've found myself and other language learners around me getting lost in the competition. There's no longer a focus on learning the language, getting better at the language, what Duolingo was originally meant for. There's now a focus on doing the most points as fast as you can before Sunday night when the league ends. I mean, I get Duolingo's intent in introducing the league to try to make it fun for people to learn a language, to encourage people to first pick up a language by making it a competition. But I don't think that's quite what Duolingo meant for it to be. I don't think they realized how competitive people are. I've seen people do an absurd number of points in a week, to the point where I'm like, how is it humanly possible to do that many points unless you're doing it for every single one of your waking hours? And so at this point, everyone's trying to find any hack possible to do as many points as possible in as short of a time. And mind you, there's already certain bonuses based on points added to the app, where if you do a lesson in the morning, you can get double the amount of points. If you do a lesson in the evening, you can get double the amount of points also. So I realize I'm starting to live my life around Duolingo. Right on cue, our friend Duolingo adds Super. Super is their paid version that gives you unlimited lives and no ads. So the really crazy people are like, great, let me just get Super, and now I can do lessons more quickly and get more points in the same amount of time. All this time, Duolingo is laughing their way to the bank. They added all these new features, people are buying their paid version, they're growing. But all their learners have stopped learning. And get this, you don't even really get anything for winning the competition. It's just our innate drive as humans to win a competition. And so once I realized this, I've basically been just doing enough to keep my position in my group, not to win it at all. As I've become busier with college and other stuff, I've resorted to just doing Duolingo, just a little bit of Duolingo every day. And I find this method way less stressful and way more beneficial to my actual language learning, aka not getting caught up in the leap. So what have I learned from doing Duolingo for more than 9 years, and was it worth it? Well, language learning is a process, and Duolingo with their streak system forces you to keep at it every single day. And even after you've learned a language, you've learned the basics of a language, you've completed Duolingo's course, Duolingo forces you to keep in touch with the language with their streak system so you never forget. So at the end of the day, I would say it was worth it. But it's only worth it if you make sure that you don't get caught in the competition. But yeah, that's basically what I have to say about Duolingo and my experience building a 3,349-day streak. If you like this video and would like to see more of this content in the future, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you in the next one.